because they knew he was Polish too. So they just kept looking and
Oh
looking.
my god, he was Polish! Oh my god, I'm gonna freak out! Poland mentioned! America, why do you need to blow up everything? Hello everybody, it's me, it's Auri, and I'm back again with a dose of another Friday reaction just for you! Today we are going to watch TheFatElectrician! You told me multiple times to watch him. Auri, please watch TheFatElectrician. So yes, today we are watching TheFatElectrician. Never saw the channel ever before. This is the first time I'm watching him. And video we are going to watch, it's called Americans Stole a German Submarine and Stuck it in Chicago. So let's watch it.
You know what you call the only Type 9C German U-boat left in existence? America's. Today we're talking about the time that America stole an entire German submarine and then stuck it in the middle of Chicago. I mean, when America strategically transferred a piece of equipment to an alternate location. But first, a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Warwood Tools, a family-owned business that for over 160 years has been making sledgehammers and axes right out of West Virginia using American 1060 high-carbon steel. And to this day, they still make all their tools using World War II era drop hammer forging. So if you want some tools that are going to outlast you, I would recommend Warwood Tools, and I'll have them linked in the description.
I would like a tool like that.
Okay, important context in case you don't know. During World War II, American supply lines to the European theater were absolutely devastated by German U-boats, aka submarines. These German U-boats are credited with sinking over 2,700 American ships.
You know why I chose this video, guys? Because I hate submarines. I can't stand submarines. I can't even stand ships, but it's kind of easier to be around the big ship than it is next to the submarine. For me at least, it's I have this thing called thalassophobia, I think. Whenever I'm next to like a big ship, I immediately goosebumps and I'm not getting near it because it scares me. Like even now, when I'm thinking about the underwater ship, like the turbines and everything inside the water, it's just making me, it's making me so weird. I hate it. I really hate it. Not even mentioning the submarines. Submarines are freaking me out so much that if I would ever see a submarine in real life next to me somewhere, I would pass out probably. I'm still playing, a lot of games with like when I need to go down underwater or something, and it still gives me goosebumps, but it's easier to do it in a game than do it in real life. Same with the whales. I love whales. Who doesn't? Whales are cute, right? But if I would be next to a goddamn whale in the water, I would pass out.
Totaling in over 14 million tons of American ships and supplies that were put at the bottom of the ocean. Because of this, America would form what is known as hunter-killer groups, task forces of American ships who were sent out and their entire job was to hunt and destroy these enemy submarines. Because that's just how America gets down. We don't believe in self-defense, we believe in self-offense. It's way more efficient. And that's pretty much all the context you need. So, April 4th, 1944, a hunter-killer group known as Task Force 22.3 would set out, engage, and destroy the German U-boat 515. Absolutely everything went according to plan. Nothing was out of the ordinary. They hit it with depth charges, critically wounding the submarine, forcing it to surface one last time to allow the crew to escape before the submarine would sink below the ocean waves forever. But it was on this particular day that the American commander Daniel Gallery would take unique notice of the fact that the German submarines always surfaced to allow their crew to escape, and he decided that he was going to do something unprecedented, something that no American sailor had done since 1815. He was going to send out a boarding party and steal that enemy submarine.
I was actually thinking, how do you beat up a submarine with a ship that is not submarining, you know what I mean? I know a little bit more about airplanes than ships, but I already learned something new, so that's good. I like learning. But one bad thing about this video is that he's talking very fast and my poor ADHD brain can't catch every word. And trust me, I try my best to absorb all the information and understand what he's saying, but being a poor Polish lady that knows English kinda okay and trying to understand fast English speaker is like something is hitting my head with a hammer. Please forgive me if I don't understand something. It's a little hard. But like I said, I'm better with airplanes. I always loved airplanes. Jets, I love them. When I was a little kid, my dream work was to become a jet pilot, like a military pilot. Always, oh my god, all my life. When I was a kid, I had this one little metal airplane, and that was my favorite toy ever. Since ever, I loved airplanes. I loved looking at airplanes. I even have this like fly radar app, you know, like I'm going somewhere and I'm checking like what is above me. It's just, I love airplanes, okay? I think that's my little airplane-tism along with my horse-tism. I like boats too, but I like looking at them from the distance. I like boats. Boats are cute. But being around boats is making me freak out, and being around airplanes never made me freak out. Well, yeah, actually it did, but the opposite direction, like happy freak out. I freaking love airplanes. And I saw that TheFatElectrician actually has some videos about airplanes, so guess what we're gonna do in the future.
He immediately puts a plan into action, assembling 2 separate boarding parties, each to be comprised of 1 officer and 8 enlisted men. And these 8 enlisted men are going to be the top 8 guys that you would absolutely want on hand to be able to address any problem that could arise with keeping this submarine from sinking to the ocean floor. People like the electrician, the machinist, the boatswain's mate, the torpedo technician. Oh, and the photographer. Yeah, one of the 8 people going on the extremely dangerous and important mission is going to be a photographer because, you know, pics or it didn't happen, right? America's about to do some gangster shit. You best believe we're going to designate somebody to stand in the corner with the camera and yell "World Star" while we do it. June 1st, 1944, Task Force 22.3 receives intel that there's an enemy submarine operating off the coast of Africa. That submarine would turn out to be U-Boat 505, and they would head to it immediately. And this poor U-boat has absolutely no idea what's coming for it, because at this point in time, this task force is comprised of the flagship and escort carrier, the USS Guadalcanal, as well as 5 destroyer escorts, the USS Pope, the Pillsbury, the Jinx, the Chatelaine, and the Flaherty. And if you don't know what a destroyer escort is, at this point in time, it is a ship that has one job and one job only, and that is to fuck up enemy submarines. Okay, this hunter-killer group is rolling up on this U-boat like Debo on a beach cruiser. Somebody's about to have a bad day, and it's probably not going to be them.
Oh, they coming. Oh, they coming.
June 4th, 1944, after 3 days of chasing down this U-boat, they would finally catch up to it.
3 days?
The USS Guadalcanal would immediately scramble 2 Grumman F-4F Wildcat fighters as the rest of the destroyer escorts made their way towards the submarine. U-Boat 505 is already submerged and underwater, but the Grumman F-4F Wildcat pilots are able to see the long dark shadow of the submarine underneath the water because it's broad daylight. And once they confirm that it is in fact an enemy submarine, the destroyer escorts begin loading their hedgehogs to fire upon it. If you don't know what a hedgehog is, it is the most feared anti-submarine weapon in all of World War II. It is like a fully automatic mortar capable of firing over a wide area. Once these mortars hit the water, they can plunge into the depths of the ocean at 33 feet per second. And as soon as they make impact with anything, they will explode and destroy it. The hedgehogs would detonate early, not scoring a direct hit, but still rocking and damaging the submarine, jamming its propeller, and putting out its lights. Quickly realizing they hadn't done enough damage, the destroyer escorts above would begin launching depth charges. The depth charges would rupture the hull of U-Boat 505, and the entire submarine would be forced to surface one last time as the hatch would open and all the German sailors would begin flooding out onto its deck and into life rafts. At this point,
wait, what? Submarines have life rafts? I didn't know that submarine have life rafts. Where do you hold a life raft on a submarine? Like on a ship, you hold it like, you know, somewhere on the side or on a deck. You see it. Where are the lifeboats on a submarine? What? I'm so confused right now. I thought that they don't have them. You probably think I'm stupid and you're asking yourself a question, Auri. Like, come on. They need to have lifeboats. How else would they flee? I don't know, swim? Like, I told you I don't know much about ships. I would literally assume that they need to swim somewhere. That they're just gonna swim away.
The American boarding party grabbed their Tommy guns, hopped in their whaling boat, and made their way over to the submarine. They received no resistance from the Germans as they made their way down the hatch into the sub and began working on it to try to save it. Okay, time out. I need to make sure that you fully grasp how ridiculous what these 9 Americans are about to do actually is. Okay, you have a German U-boat that is so critically damaged that the 50 men that have been living on this U-boat, that have been trained on this U-boat, this U-boat has controls in their language and in their units of measurement. And they have decided cumulatively that, hey, this thing is so damaged that we need to run for our lives. And then while they were evacuating, they would also place scuttling charges, which are large explosive devices that detonate, ensuring that the ship sinks so that America can't retrieve it. So not only is the situation so bad that 50 of them can't fix it, but they made the situation worse on their way out. And you now have 9 Americans, one of which is a fucking camera guy, going in there to do what they couldn't pull off. This mission...
Wait, what? I didn't think about that. But it's true, it's German, it's gonna be in German. And I'm pretty sure, you know, you wouldn't want the enemy to capture something yours, so you're gonna destroy it yourself. That is so true. Why did they decide to just go in there? Why would they do this? That's either super smart or super stupid, and I can't decide which one is it. But it's taking me more towards super stupid, because I would never enter, not mentioning just a submarine, I would never enter a freaking sinking submarine, alright? First of all, you would have to pay me like $1 million to just get into a working, perfect, new, shiny submarine. Not mentioning a freaking mostly destroyed one. This is crazy. I don't know what else it is. It's crazy. And the photographer on top of this
is seemingly impossible and borderline insane, but they do it anyways because America. So they get inside the sub and begin going to work immediately. The torpedo technicians and ordnance officers begin defusing scuttling charges as the electricians go to work at trying to get the bilge pumps back up and running to pump water out of the submarine. And the damage control and the machinists begin working on plugging holes and getting the motor back up and running. And while all of this is going on, the officer in charge of the American boarding party, Lieutenant Albert David, notices that the submarine is sinking so fast that there is now water pouring into the open hatch on top. And it is at this moment that he has to make a split decision. He either has to get his men out and save their lives, or he has to shut the hatch and give them more time to work. But
yeah, which means, hey guys, this is like unfixable. We are actually drowning right now. Let's leave, right? Right?
But if they can't pull it off, they are all going to die in that submarine. And without thinking twice, he closes the hatch. A few minutes later, the second boarding party would board U-boat 505, and they would attempt to open the hatch to get inside the submarine and help. But the sinking submarine had created such a powerful vacuum that it was impossible. So they did the next best thing. They got a tow line, tied the U-boat 505 to the USS Guadalcanal, as the USS Guadalcanal began towing the now sinking U-boat. Feeling that they were now moving, the Americans on the inside had an ingenious idea. You see, the U-boat didn't have enough power for anything but lights. They were running entirely on batteries. The reason they didn't have power is because the propeller was jammed, and the propeller was jammed because they couldn't get the motor going again. So what they did was they disconnected the drive shaft between the motor and the propeller, allowing the propeller to free spin in the current of the USS Guadalcanal as it's being towed. This would turn the alternator, generating power and giving the U-boat enough power to activate its bilge pumps and begin pumping water out of it. I cannot stress to you enough how fucking genius this was to do. This saved all of their lives for sure, and to be able to have the knowledge and wisdom to come up with a solution like that while you're actively fucking dying in a tin can under—
Yeah, well, I never heard about towing a goddamn submarine, so yeah, that's one of the ideas, I guess. I mean, good job, America. But why do you even do this? Why do you need a freaking German submarine? Also, are those real footages from what was happening? I mean, they had a cameraman. Are those real footages? I feel stupid. I don't know what it is.
The ocean is incredible. So things are already looking up, but at a minimum, they have to get that hatch back open so that the first boarding crew can escape if they absolutely need to. So the second boarding crew, with their Tommy guns, proceeds to pluck one of the Germans out of their life raft and persuade him to activate the pressure valve, which is going to equalize the pressure inside and outside the sub, allowing him to open the hatch door. That happens, and the second boarding crew gets inside and also gets to
more
work.
people?
And all this is going on, and there's 50 Germans sitting out there in life rafts like, fuck. Like, what do you do in that situation? You have just been outclassed on every conceivable level. Like, you were in combat, they damaged your ship to the point that you couldn't fix it, so then you tried to rage quit and blow up your own ship, and then they're like, no, I've changed my mind. And then they went in there and made it so you couldn't even sink your own ship. At this point, the rest of the task force goes around plucking all the Germans out of their life rafts because they are now prisoners of war, as Commander Gallery comes to the conclusion, fuck it, we're just gonna have to tow this sinking submarine while it's actively sinking all the way to the nearest American port, and we're just
Why
gonna have
though?
sailors in there working 24/7 around the clock to try to keep it above the waterline. Not a terrible plan, but the only problem.
Why do you need, why do they I still don't understand. Why do you take a freaking almost dead, like if there would be some informations in there, they would just take it and leave it, right? Is it because they wanted to discover Germans' technology or something? Is that why, to like have a technological advantage? Is that what it was for? I just don't understand why they would risk their lives like this just to keep a submarine above the water, not even mentioning towing it back to America. And it's sinking and they let more crew inside, and I don't know, it's just a little bit crazy. He didn't say why they did that. He just said, well, because America, but like there needed to be some reason, right? Like normal sane people don't just go inside sinking boats trying to desperately fix them for no reason, right?
Problem is, they're like 150 miles off the coast of Africa, and the nearest American port is 2,500 miles away, and if that wasn't bad enough, it's in fucking Bermuda, you know, where the whole triangle thing is.
Bermuda Triangle!
The disrespect with this is absolutely palpable. Could you imagine being one of these Germans sitting there like, not only are you not allowed to sink your own ship, you're not even allowed to rage quit. The Americans come in, steal your shit, and now they're gonna joyride it through the Bermuda Triangle and not even lose it just to flex on you like that? It's ridiculous. So they get everything buttoned up and they get underway, headed out to Bermuda. Is it real footage? At which point, a couple days later, the commander of the German submarine wakes up in the infirmary on the USS Guadalcanal. Apparently, he had been hit in the head and lost consciousness for a number of days. At which point, Commander Gallery comes down to have a conversation with him, and he's like, hey, here's the deal. We stole your sub. We're towing it to the Bermuda Triangle for a joyride. It's gonna be great. The German commander absolutely refuses to believe him. He's like, that's not possible. I had 50 dudes. They weren't able to save that sub. We scuttled it on the way out for insurance. There's no way that you managed to keep that sub from sinking.
And he said all of that in American?
Here's all the shit from your office that's distinctly not waterlogged. Also, if you look out the window, we're towing your submarine behind us right now. At which point, the German officer completely loses his shit. He starts crying. He's completely inconsolable. He's like, when my chain of command finds out that this happened, they're gonna torture me and then they're gonna kill me. Or the other way around. I don't know. This is absolutely terrible. But Commander Gallery, being the cool guy that he is, he's like, hey, buddy, pal, friend, you're gonna sit in a nice POW camp for the duration of the war. We're gonna win, and by the time you get to go back home, you're not gonna have a chain of command, and all of your leadership infrastructure is gonna be completely dismantled. I wouldn't worry about it. Didn't really make him feel better, but I thought it was funny. Now, so they're still making their way towards that big triangle thing, but pulling the submarine and keeping it from taking on water is a constant struggle.
Wouldn't they try to pull out information from him too? Because he's like, you know, the head of command, so usually they, like, you know, they wanna ask you like, hey, what your plan was, where were you going, and stuff like this. Wouldn't that be also bad for him?
And it's starting to look like they're not going to be able to keep enough water out of this submarine long enough to get it all the way to Bermuda. So they start interviewing Germans, trying to find one with technical knowledge that would be willing to help them keep it afloat. And that is when they come across a young German sailor by the name of Felix Ewald. And he would inform them that not only is he not German, he's definitely not a Nazi, and he's certainly not a fan. He was conscripted when the Nazis invaded Poland, and he was basically being forced to be.
Poland mentioned! My beautiful country! Jeszcze Polska nie zginęła, póki my żyjemy. Are you trying to tell me that he was Polish?
There, and that if America wanted help, he was happy to do so. So he would immediately go to work helping the Americans keep the submarine afloat the entire time as they traveled back to Bermuda. As the remaining German POWs began asking questions, what happened to Felix? What happened to Ewald? Where's Ewald? And they began looking for him every chance they got, searching everywhere they could find him. The Americans had told him that they killed him, but they didn't believe it because they knew he was Polish too. So they just kept looking and looking.
Oh my god, he was Polish! Oh my god, I'm gonna freak out! My buddy, my dude, my Polish guy, yes!
Scanning everywhere. And this would be the inspiration for the childhood book, Where's Waldo? I'm just kidding, I made that part up. Anyways, with the help of Felix, they managed to tow this submarine all the way to Bermuda.
Go,
they get
Felix!
it fixed up, it's definitely not gonna sink, at which point they get to go in and really start looking at what intel they had managed to gather. And holy shit,
so it was the intel.
Active Enigma cipher machine on board. This is what the Germans were using to send all their secret
Enigma code! Did you know that Poland was the first country to actually figure out what Enigma code was about? Did you know that? Yeah. That's my little information I can give you.
Communications, and it could prove absolutely invaluable. They also...
Oh guys, I don't know if you know, there is a video I really love about Poland. It describes everything that happened with Poland. It's like a very nice animation. It's called The Unconquered. You can always check it out. I'm gonna leave the link in the description anyway, because Poland, I'm a big fan. Yay, Poland!
Had a bunch of up-to-date ciphers and a bunch of other documents that were deemed so important that they were printed on water-soluble paper, so that if the boat did sink and these documents got wet, they would completely disintegrate and be unrecoverable. It is at this point that the American leadership decides the Germans have to think that this boat went down and everyone died. We cannot let them know that we have this information, because now we're going to be able to decode all of their secret transmissions, and we don't want them to change the code. So they take U-Boat 505, they actually paint it to look like an American submarine, and then start referring to it as the USS Nemo, which, if you don't know, is Latin for no one. They then take all the German POWs from U-Boat 505, send them to Louisiana, where they are going to be completely segregated from all the other POWs, so nobody knows who they are.
In Louisiana?
All the American sailors are then
Crocodiles
ordered to turn
are going
over
to eat
all
them.
of the souvenirs that they gathered out of U-Boat 505 and to shut the fuck up about it. And as far as anyone on the planet needs to be concerned, this U-boat is at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, 150 miles off the coast of Africa. Nobody can know that we have this. But if those Germans weren't allowed to write home through the Red Cross, that's technically a Geneva Convention violation. But first of all, when you're on the winning side, those aren't actually rules, they're more like suggestions.
The code is more
suggestions, okay?
than actual rules.
Secondly, let's just be honest here. If you were a POW in World War II and the worst thing that happened to you is you weren't allowed to write home while you were being well fed and treated with dignity, you came out on top. All right, so somehow the United States manages to keep this thing a complete secret until May 7th, 1945, when Germany issues their unconditional surrender. And it is at this point that the smack talking can now
How did you keep it a secret?
Now we are going to take this submarine, you know, the only remaining Type 9C German sub left on the planet, even though they manufactured hundreds, we sunk all of them, except for this one. Now we're going to drive that bitch to Philadelphia and use it to raise funds, and anybody that buys a bunch of war bonds can get a guided tour of this German sub, because a lot of people quit buying war bonds after Germany surrendered because they thought the war was coming to an end, and
so it's a museum now
in the Pacific against the Japanese, so this was like a huge fundraising opportunity, and that's exactly what they did. They sold a ton of war bonds. As soon as that started slowing down, hey, we'll tow it to another major US city. They towed it up to New York. Then New York bought a bunch of war bonds, and then World War II would finally come to an end when Japan issued their unconditional surrender, and now we've got this German submarine, and we don't know what to do with it. So the US government does what the US government do, and they're like, hear me out, what if we shot nuclear bombs at it for science?
What? No! Why not make a museum, you know, so the future people can go in and check how it looked like? America, why do you need to blow up everything? What is happening? Why can't you make it a beautiful museum or something? There's no way they actually did it, right? Or did they? Oh my god, they did.
Commander Gallery, who's now an admiral, chimes in and is like, no, I stole that thing fair and square. We're keeping it. So he ends up orchestrating a deal with the city of Chicago where the US government will donate the submarine to the city of Chicago as long as the city pays to have it shipped all the way there. And that's exactly what happens. They took a Type 9C
it's so big.
submarine, the whole thing, in one piece, and put it in Chicago, you know, like the major city that's the most inland of any other city in America. It's literally fucking 2 Germanys into America. Yes, that is to scale. An incredible logistical feat is the icing on the cake for one of the most amazing and utterly disrespectful stories to ever come out of World War II. And I'm happy to say that if you would ever like to go see U-Boat 505, you still can, because it is still in Chicago today at the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah, so it is a museum. It's in a museum.
As a proud member of the second largest navy on the planet, America's fleet of museum ships. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch at TheFatElectrician.com. Quack bang out.
On June 19th.
Thank you, Mr. TheFatElectrician. Well, that was such a cool video. Not because there was a Polish guy in it, but it made it even better. But it was actually pretty crazy. I mean, I'm glad you guys didn't blow it up and it's still somewhere in a museum. Good job, the guy who stole it and, you know, was arguing not to do anything to it because, well, he stole it, so it's kind of his, right? Thank you so much for coming and watching and for recommending me TheFatElectrician. I really liked it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to watch more of TheFatElectrician TheFatElectrician in the future. And if you liked it, please leave a like and a subscribe, and don't forget I'm streaming every day except Fridays, usually around 9 p.m. PST. I'm more of a night streamer for America. I hope to see you on a stream or next Friday. Bye bye.